All right. So, man, I was reading the Bible, and I was reading about King David and how he went out on his balcony, and this beautiful woman, was out there bathing in like his little pond, and she made sure to be there at the time he normally goes out on his balcony so that he would see her, right? But she was married, and her husband was a soldier, and her husband was a soldier who was away at war. And while he's away at war, she, concocted a scheme to get to be out there naked so the king would see her, right? Now, King David had a wife and 300 concubines. So he had a queen and 300 concubines. You ask yourself, what you might know what a concubine is, but what is the purpose of a concubine, right? And you say, well, the concubine purpose is to have sex with the king, right? No, well, yeah, but there's a greater purpose. It's like they want to populate the kingdom full of nobility, and the more children that the king can have, then that nobility and that ability to have generational turnover, people that can continue to live from generation to generation. You have more people, so you have a greater chance for more people to continue to live. And if you have more people who are birthed from the king, you'll have more loyalty that way as well. So it's a whole purpose and a reason for the concubines, and it really was a job, and it was a noble job because you really served the whole kingdom and the purpose. So, but anyway, so the king had a queen and 300 concubines. And he knew God. God gave all this. He gave him a kingdom, everything. He put everything in his hand. God, like the big homie, God. And he knew God gave this to him. So anyway, you come out there, you see this woman. She's so bad. She's so fine. Just, man, just looking good, naked. Just, he's like, man, I got all these other bad ones, but I just want that one. God dang. So anyway, he called for her. She come in. He knock her down. They say he lied with her. He knock her down. He beat that pussy up, right? And then he sent her on her way. And later on thereafter, she found out she pregnant when she back home. So she ended up telling the king, "You the only man I laid with, and after I laid with you, you got me pregnant." And the king like, "Oh shit." You know what I'm saying? The king like, "Man, I'm the king. Everybody know I got 300 concubines, a queen, and if this get out, this is not going to be good for me at all." So King David, who God loves, concocts a scheme and sends for the woman's husband who's at war. He a real G. Her husband is a good man. He's at war. I'm going to tell you why he's a good man in a minute. He's a soldier. So the king say he concocted a scheme to throw a party for the man to come home for a few days and eat and be married and go lay with his wife. And he wants the man who's a soldier to go lay with his wife so that he can, have sex with her and think that the reason why she's pregnant is because of him. So he's trying to put the baby off on him. So when the dude come, he do everything. He balling, eating, drinking, they singing, they dancing, it's going down. And then the king say, "Man, go home, we're going to lay with your wife." And the soldier like, "Okay." And then when the soldier leave, man, he go right back to the front line. He don't go home, he go right back to the front line. So you ask yourself, well, why did he go back to the front line? Isn't he supposed to do what the king says? Yes. And see, a lot of people in the Bible, they have such, like maybe 2 sentences or a paragraph. They need a whole book to tell about them. But if you really like read and pray, you know what I'm saying, and for discernment, you can really understand these people. And I guess because I'm an actor and I understand that every person that plays a role in a movie, they're not acting, they're becoming that person. And it's not just lines, it's a whole backstory about this person, their life, and what they've been through, how they grew up, and everything. And you have to really become that person. It's almost like magic. So osmosis is tapping into your spirit. Let me get to the point. So that's the reason why he didn't listen. The dude, when he left, he went to the front line. This is what tells you he's a good man. He had been fighting all this time, and he left even after balling and drinking. You know how you be ready to go straight to the room after the club over, like, "Man, I'm about to go knock it down, baby." Well, no, after he was done, he went right back to the front line. And then when he came back the next day to the king, and the king asked him, "Did you go home to your wife?" And he told them no. And really the reason he was telling them no, and he was saying like, listen, for all of these wonderful things that we can appreciate in the castle and have fun doing, he's like, the only reason why we have these freedoms and this ability to do these things is because they are protected. And even though I just got through doing them things, and you told me, and I love you, King, and I do whatever you tell me. That's why I'm at war now. But he said, even though you told me to go lay with my wife, I knew it was way more important to be at the front line with everybody else to make sure everything was good. And the king like was kind of impressed. So he really couldn't man, damn. You need people like that on everybody. Here's another thing, like that soldier. You need people like that that's on fire behind you, dog. You know what I'm saying? That'll hear you say one thing but still love you so much. They like, no, I just gotta do this right thing right here for you, baby. I just got to. So anyway, the king heard that like, damn. So the next scheme he did was he called in his general Joab. And he told Joab, say, man, I want you to send this soldier, this good man, to the front line where the fighting is the most intense. Keep in mind, he knows he's a good man. He knows he's a strong soldier. And because he knows this, he knows that this man who is the husband to this woman who is now pregnant with the king's baby, he knows that this man will go to the front line. And again, qualities of a man. He knows he will go to the front line because that is in him. Right? That spirit, that great spirit is in him. So Joab takes that order, takes that man who was the husband of that woman who's pregnant by King David, takes that man to the front line where the fighting is the fierce, and then as it gets most intense, he pulled everybody back and that man ended up getting killed. That good man got killed. You know what I'm saying? By that fighting. The king set that man up twice. First, to go lay with his wife, which he didn't. He went back to the front line because he loved the king and the kingdom so much. And the second time, because he loved the kingdom and the kingdom so much, he willfully went to the front line where it was the most intense fighting, where it was the greatest danger, and he ended up getting killed, not because of the most intense fighting or the most danger, but because he got set up by the king who he loved so much and everything he believed in. Of course, his wife was a part of it because she concocted the whole scheme, right? So fucked up. So after I read that, man, I slammed the Bible, and I told God, I said, man, God, I can't stand for no whole shit like that, dog. I said, man, and keep in mind, I hadn't continued to read with discernment, so I'm like, man, I can't stand for no whole shit like that, dog. I said, I love you and everything you do is right, but I can't take that. I can't take this good man, even though he's very, very, he might got 2-3 paragraphs in the whole Bible because he's just very into it, and they kind of, they go through it real fast. And I say, David, everybody know about King David. I said, man, you done so much for him. I said, but I can't just understand how you can let this happen to this good man like this. So I closed the Bible I left it alone for a while because I was hot. Not with God, but I'm like just the whole situation. I mean, I know that he greater than me, and I'm like, but dog, I'm just like, I'm not okay with that. Period. So later on, man, a week later or whatever, I just opened up the word and he just kept bringing me back to that same part. Like the Bible just opened up to that same part, and I just kept reading it. And as it goes on, the son, the child that King David, well, let me continue. After King David sent that man, after that man got killed, a prophet came to King David and told him this story about these sheep. He said, once upon a time, it was this rich farmer who had a whole bunch of sheep. And said then there was this other poor farmer who only had one sheep, but he loved that sheep. And he ate with it and he loved it with his family and children. It was just like it was his kid. He loved it. It was everything to him. And he said, but one day the rich man had a friend who came over. And because that friend was coming over, he decided to kill that poor man's sheep and have it for dinner. Even though he had all the other sheep, he decided to kill that poor man's sheep and have it for dinner. And then the king said, man, whoever that rich man is that did that to that poor man, he must die. And then he must give him 4 times the sheep that he took from him. And then the prophet looked at him and said, King David, he said, that man is you. What? God sent him to tell him that man is you. Right? And God said, I see what you did. And he said, King David, he said, I gave you everything. I gave you this kingdom, all this shit. I gave you a queen, 300 concubines. I would have gave you anything. I love you. All you had to do was ask. So then the prophet told him, there will be death about you and around you. Right? He told me to be death about you and around you. But it won't hit you. But it's going to be about you and around you. All kind of shit about you and around you, right? So then the prophet left. No sooner than the prophet left, the child that woman was pregnant with took sick. The child that, no, excuse me, the lady had the child, and the child that the lady had for King David took sick. And once King David heard his child was sick, he went into mourning and fasting and crying on the ground and praying to God, because he knew exactly what was happening and why it was happening. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he did. So for 7 days, he stayed in there just crying and praying and fasting, like, God, forgive me, please, I'm sorry. He just, in his heart, he just changed. He was like, God, forgive me, I'm sorry. He really did change, and that kid died. I really believe that King David changed because of that situation. It just goes to show God redeeming spirit, like a love. So after the kid died, but it's more that goes to it. It's so deep. It's like an onion. Right? So after the kid died, King David, they sent word, told King David the kid died. King David came out of the room, and he was like, he started eating and going back to his regular thing, and his servants was like, wow, we're surprised. We thought we would never be able to get you out of there. And King David was like, well, there's no reason for me to be mourning anymore now that he's gone. He said something very, 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 very wise. He said, there's no reason for me to be mourning for my son anymore because he's dead. He's gone. And there's nothing I can do about it. I have to move on, which is so important in life about, understanding and praying and, asking God for forgiveness for yourself and the things that you've done so that you can move on. So he moved on. He moved on because he thought it was over. And this is the part where it get gangster. He moved on because he thought it was over. He took that same woman who he got pregnant the first time, got her pregnant again, and she ended up having Solomon, who went on to be King Solomon. Show you how God works in mysterious ways. The woman who was married to the soldier who ended up getting pregnant, the first baby she had for the king ended up getting killed because of the curse that was placed around the king. But the second kid, who God loved, was named Solomon. But now, I'm like, man, okay, God, I understand. I'm not no eye for eye, 2 for 2 type of thing. But I'm like, man, it's just messed up that man had to get killed like that. He did nothing wrong. But the point, the whole, so then I kept reading, and now here's where it gets deeper. King David thought it was over. Man, that shit was just getting started. God wasn't done with him. With that one insignificant soldier shows in this whole situation is that you could be so small, and even the ones who God loves the most, if God fucks over them type of people, God will take care, man, or kick their ass. So anyway, no sooner than that, again, King David got a bunch of kids because he got 300 concubines. One of his sons likes his half sister because she's fine. She a virgin. And then back in those days, virgins wear these special dresses, all these colors to signify their purity, and it gives them a social status in the community. So, but King David's son, again, he gets hit with this generational curse. It's right here, and all of a sudden he look at his sister like, man, that bitch fine. I need to be fucking on her. You know what I'm saying? So his friend come to him and they could cock a scheme like, man, act like you sick, ask the king to send her to you, and then when she come to you, make everybody go out and let her just be in there with you, and then you grab her and you beat that pussy up, right? And that's exactly what he did. So she come over, she cooking and caring for him. She a good woman, good girl. She loving on, like not loving, like kissing and stuff, but like, cooking for him, making sure he good, like doing everything like a sister is supposed to. After he tell the people to go away, man, he get on top of her, and she just started pleading with him, please don't do this. She gave him like 3 different reasons, like, we're brother and sister, we're not supposed to do this, and God is not for this, and she was telling him the truth, and he still took that pussy and raped her because he was fine and he wanted that pussy, and it's crazy. Like, well, why did he rape his sister? You got to think about what King David did, and God sent that prophet and told him, man, it's gonna be shit all around you, dog, and it just goes to show how God is not playing. These are the things they ain't never just said to me in church. It just goes to show how God is not playing. Even though he gave that man, he's like, I'm still not done with you. You were wrong. So anyway, that generational curse jumped into his sister because he messes with a woman he's not supposed to mess with, which is his sister. He rapes her. And then what's even more fucked up is after he raped his sister, he said, man, fuck this bitch. And he kicked his sister out. He called his people to put her out and slam the door so she couldn't get back in. And she tore her dress off of pretty colors because she was no longer a virgin and covered her face and her head with ashes, which customonial for death. And she was crying and shit, because he raped her, and she ran back home to her other brother because, her real brother, the dude who raped her, was a half brother. She ran back home to her other brother, and her other brother took her in, her whole brother, and brought her in and consoled her and moved her into his house. In that sentence, moved her into his house with the sermon, what that really said was he comforted her and moved her into his house. What that really said was, man, he got her out the street so she don't be out here running around looking crazy. And he cared for her and loved on her to where she was calmed down. And she stayed there. You know what I'm saying? He loved on her because that was his sister. So after he did that, he went back and talked to his half-brother who raped her. Right? Now, keep in mind, it wasn't all in the same day, like, calm down, you all good. No, it took time for him to get his sister right. And he took that time and he loved her. So it was weeks and months and shit. So after he did that, he went back to his brother that raped her. And now here's the thing. He talked to his brother about it. And they said when he was talking about it, he was neither happy nor upset about it. It was just like he was indifferent. And, his brother admitted to it. That dude held that shit for 2 years. 2 years later, he threw a party, went to the king and said, King, why don't you have all the brothers and sisters come to this party? And the king said, man, I can't do that. By this time, King got about 1,000 kids. We been banging these conking about King David loved them hoes, dog. King David was putting the pipe down, dog. He had all kind of kids, dog. King David was about that fuck action, dog. God bless me, forgive me. I'm telling the truth. So, anyway, King David said, I can't send all these kids. He said, okay, well, at least send, a couple of them. Make sure you send, let's say the dude's name was Aaron. Make sure you send Aaron. He said, okay, well, I send everybody. I'll make sure I send Aaron. So the brother, he told his servants, he said, man, look, when we get Aaron out here, we're going to have a big old party and fun. We're going to be drinking and dancing and freestyling, you know what I'm saying, and doing all kind of wild shit. And just as Aaron having a good time, bitch, kill him. He wanted vengeance for his sister, but he didn't act an asshole all that time. He was just patient, though. He waited 2 years and acted cool the whole way. He loved on his sister, got her right, but he was just so hot and angry, and he just kept that in his stomach. It was crazy. And he ended up, when his brother Aaron came down there, they had a good time. And man, at the right time, all the servants jumped out and killed him. They let everybody else go. They killed him who raped his sister. And when they got back to the king, the brother who set it up, he ran because he knew the king would be mad at him. But he took vengeance on him. Again, the original curse started when the king fucked that man's wife, got her pregnant, and got him killed. All this crazy shit started happening. So this dude run, his son run. He gone for 3 years. Then he sent his general to go get him. His fucking general Joab go get him, bring him back to the kingdom. But the king say he can't see my face, right? He can't talk to me. So, the dude sitting in the kingdom for a few years. So he like, man, they ain't gonna talk to me. Try to send messages. Them boys want. He sent a message to the king. King won't talk to me. Sent a message to Joab. Joab won't talk to me. So then he sends a message to go burn down Joab field. And then Joab run over there like, man, the fuck wrong with you? You burning down my shit. And then that boy say, man, dog, I've been trying to talk to you. I got to burn down your shit for you to come see me. Well, fuck it, you here. He like, I need to talk to the king since you here. So he burned down Joab's shit. Joab finally came and he sent him to talk to the king. Long story short, king accepts him. He puts him into the position of a judge. And his son grows in influence. But now he just keeps getting fucked up. His son eventually wants power. So he started unite with other people to overthrow King David. Let me go back. The dude becomes a judge over right and wrong. And what he did for his sister was really based off of right and wrong. You know what I'm saying? So then he wants to become the king because I believe in his spirit he felt so strongly about right and wrong. And as it goes back to King David from that time forward, yes, he asked for forgiveness. But even after he asked for forgiveness, he still took that same woman, got her pregnant, had Solomon. That's just one baby. That boy King David probably out there doing cool stuff, but he out there fucking them hoes. And more so than he was concerned about right and wrong. So because of that, his son tried to overthrow him. But because his son tried to overthrow him, they was at war. King David went running, and his General Joab, he gave an order as a king, and he said, "Man, if you catch my son, please don't kill him. No, please don't kill him." He said, "Don't kill him." But then once they caught his son out in the field, Joab killed him. You know what I'm saying? Again, so the dude who killed his brother for raping his sister, he got killed by the general. You know what I'm saying? But the king told him, "Please don't kill my son." So then when General Joab go back to the king and told him what happened, and told him, "King, I'm the one who killed him." Because the dudes who caught him said, "No, we won't kill him," because the king said, "Don't kill him." That dude took spears and killed him himself, General Joab. Then he went back to the king and told him. And then King David was like, started crying and shit, like, "Oh, my son, he dead," which he's supposed to, because he was a good son. He was about right and wrong. Again, King David enough fucking concubine, so he in the castle. He said, "I told you not to do this," But then General Moab, he looked at him on some gangster shit. He said, "Man, look," he said, "Your son would have killed me and everybody with me." And he said, "You acting like if he would have killed me and everybody with me and then came back here, you would have been happy for him. But because we killed him for you, and he would have killed you too if he came back here, you'd been happy for him. But because we killed him and kept him from coming over here and you ain't got to run no more, now you mad at us?" He said, "You better get yourself together and come speak to your men, right?" And that's what the king did. And what that moment right there showed was a couple things, right? Number one, General Joab was the person who originally sent that innocent man to die. And in the beginning, up until that moment, General Joab might have just been doing the job. But after he did that shit, he was a soldier. He was the number one general, which means he was decorated. Like all them people you see on TV that got all this stuff on their shirt. I mean, they got all kind of disciplines and all this. Dog, General Joab was the man. He wasn't just out there freestyling. He knew the right and wrong, right? And he sent that man to die. And what that showed him was the thing he understood from that was the king was doing this to preserve his power, right? And these are the type of moves that a person that lived in a castle make. But Joab lived in the field because he was a general. So he was doing all kind of gangster shit on behalf of the king to keep power without the king needing to know about it. And he was really getting sick of that shit because, he was like, "Damn, dog." What it really went to show was, in a lot of these situations, to keep power, these people have to do all kind of crazy shit or do all kind of shit to keep power that people in the castle might not even need to know about. Because he's like, "Dog, you don't even understand what it takes to keep this shit. And you need to get yourself together." And that's what the king did. That was one thing. The second thing, again, it showed just how God was not through with the situation. He kept, that curse kept continuing because of the original sin that David did. Even though it was forgiven, it's still like, dog, it wasn't over. All this shit you did, it was terrible. You spilled innocent blood. Yes, you like, oh, but God should have been done. But what God's saying is, look, even though that man was small and insignificant, he was good. He said King David, he set off a chain of event, domino effect. So, and even with that, but being in power, General Moab ended up killing his son, but he got him together and told him to come out there, so he did that shit. But, General Moab, what he represent on so many different levels, because he was undefeated as King David's general, is the type of qualities that you want in a person behind you. Not killing people and stuff like that, but the ability to love you, to understand you and to care for you in ways that you don't even think about or care about yourself. Some people say, well, he didn't follow directions and instructions. Yeah, but he looked at it from his own way. Once he was taught what the king taught him first. He was a part of that big sin of killing that man. But he learned a lesson of what it took to keep power. But he took it from a Twinkie way from people in the castle. Like the king, like, "Oh, don't kill my son." But the dude, General Moab, like, "You don't understand war. You understand castle. Living over here with these 300 hoes, nigga. You don't know these motherfuckers about in the streets. I handled that shit." That's what General Joab told his ass. And General Joab was correct, because his son would have killed him. But his son probably would have killed him because his son was a judge behind right and wrong. And he could look at his father, King David, and be like, "Man, you are not locked into this like you're supposed to. You're a great king, but So it all kind of fucked up all kind of ways. So Joab did do a number of different things, and he wasn't perfect. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's a person. Certain qualities of him need to be commended, and how he loved, and how to love a soldier. Or how can you question a soldier if you live in a castle, if you live in an apartment, if you live in a house, and to defend your freedom and make it possible so you can go get that Popeye's chicken, so you can go get that Domino's pizza, so you can go get that loud pack. You know what I'm saying? There's people having to do all kind of shit all over the world to ensure that. They do it because they love you, not because they're heinous, terrible people, or even if they're cursed people. No, it's just, man, all this is a mystery. When you sitting in traffic, think about this differently. When you sitting in traffic, man, God woke everybody up. The good drivers, the bad drivers, everybody. Like, huh? How is this shit even possible? Excuse my language. God, you're amazing. I'm just explaining this. Like, so anyway, the story of General Joab, a lot of people skip over it. It's not very long, but when you look at what he did and what he said, he wasn't right in everything, especially at the end, because he didn't want Solomon to be king. He wanted the other son to be king. But now let me get into that. The reason why Joab didn't want Solomon to be king is because he knew Solomon was the son of the woman whose husband was killed. He was the one that said the husband be killed. He was born into sin. This shit was wrong. It wasn't right from his eyesight. And you got to think this man been in the field all this time, putting in work the whole time. King David in the castle, fucking hoes, making babies. This nigga putting in work. So in the end, he was like, no, Solomon shouldn't be king because he's a whole baby. He a sin baby. He not right. And people say, well, it was God's will. And that's true. But this man, a soldier who makes sure everything was right through King David's rule, he knew. He couldn't tell him shit. He just knew, look, I understand what you're saying. And what you're saying may be right. But I know this here. That's a whole baby. He ain't supposed to be king. Solomon is not supposed to be king. He didn't know God's plan. Solomon was one of the greatest kings in the Bible. But yet again, great mystery. Solomon wasn't born to the 300 concubines or the queen. He's born from the woman whose husband was killed. He was born to the woman whose husband was killed. He was the second baby. He was one of the greatest kings, the wisest king in the Bible. But the reason why Joab didn't get killed by nobody. He won every war. Joab won every war. The motherfucker that got Joab killed was King David. King David laid on his deathbed. He didn't die by the sword. God kept his promise. He said it's going to be shit all around you, but it ain't going to touch you. Again, God on some gangster shit. You shed this innocent man blood, guess what? You're going to live through all this. You're going to see all this. And he did. He even seen the general, his number one rider, oppose who God told him to be the king. Solomon, who he gave the kingdom to, because his number one rider, God didn't talk to him like that. Even if he did, he still knew the streets. He knew the field. He knew everything he did for life. It was a part in the Bible. It was a part in the Bible in the same story. Motherfucking King David, he was scared of Joab. Joab had grew into a motherfucking beast because he understood power. And as the kingdom grew because of Joab shit. He had to keep control in all them battles. So anyway, the king grew. He was scared of this motherfucker. And again, here we go with some castle shit. These castle tactics. Motherfuckers live in a castle. So the king gonna give Joab job being a general to another motherfucker, right? He gonna give his job to another dude who had killed Joab's brother in battle. He gonna take him being the general and give it to the other dude who had killed Joab's brother in battle So he announced that, then he throw a party. Because, the dude taking the wink wink job. And at the party, after they having a good time, it's customary in the tradition for like men to like kiss on the cheek or whatever. And as a new guy, as they drunk, having a good time, he lean over to kiss on Joab. Joab pull out a big ass sword and stab this fool in his stomach and empty out everything in his stomach on the fucking ground. And that's fucked up. But again, God said, you gonna live through and see all of this shit. Joab did that shit. And I think I'm discernment. Joab did that shit. And I'm gonna explain something to you. King David thought it was a joke. King David lived in the castle. King David thought that what Joab did was a fucking job. It was no fucking job. After General Joab, after he killed that innocent man, and he knew he did it, and he knew it was wrong, but he loved the king, and that taught him a whole nother lesson of power, and it turned it from being just a job to faux life, faux ill. It's forever. The king got it fucked up because of the king's original sin. He set off a chain of actions that required Joab to do more and more and more terrible, worse, terrible things to protect the kingdom. And it all happened behind David and his decision and killing that man and fucking his wife. And he knew he was wrong. And he knew he had God. So King David thought, oh, this is just a job. I can get a job to this man here, and this man killed your brother, so that, it can be some guys who been yogging that up. No, motherfucker, at the same party, motherfucking Joab pulled out his sword like he about to kiss him and kill out his sword, emptied out his fucking stomach. And they ain't say shit to this man. He got a job right back. General Joab became General Joab that same night. He got fired and hired the same night. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy. And it's funny. He killed the dude who took his job and killed his brother, but he did it for vengeance for his brother as well. It did have something to do with his job. It's just duality. He killed his brother, and it was more than just a job. And the reason why he did it to a certain degree wasn't because he was jealous, but he understood that the king nor this man understand what it takes to keep this going on. Y'all think this is about a job and work. What this man understood is, king, ever since you fucked this man's wife, shit been fucked up and crazy. No, God might not have came to me, but what I know is, I was a general before all this shit, but then after you fucked this bitch and all this crazy shit started happening, and to keep this shit popping, I've been having to do all kind of crazy. And because you live in a castle, I don't tell you near about all of this stuff because I love you. I did that first heinous thing because I love you. And that really revealed to General Joab, who he was to himself, what his position meant, what country meant to him. By him doing that thing, it opened up a whole new level of love. And it seems as though as Joab loved more and more, because of King David's sin caused all this stuff, because of Joab's love, it wasn't just about a job. He was a rider on everything. He took care of everything. He never lost a battle on behalf of King David. And King David, because of his sin, created all of this. So General Joab understood without God visiting him more than anybody else that it was fucked up shit going on, and it was more than just a job, and your bitch ass sitting in the goddamn castle fucking these bitches thinking that it's on some job shit, and you can pull some castle schemes and get me fucked off. Bitch, I'll kill this nigga and empty his stomach in front of you. Don't fucking play with me. And they gave him his job right back that same night. That shit crazy. Yeah. So as it continued, and of course, as you can see, King David hired a dude because he thought he could hire a bigger dude to, that could punk Joab. But after that, it was even more fear. It was even more crazy. So, but he never tried Joab again like that. But Joab loved him. Joab wasn't trying to kill the king, David. He like, this for L though. You don't understand. So, all right. Let me get to the end. And the most heinous part of it all. So it comes time to name the king. And King David on his deathbed. And as you would imagine, General Joab is an older man as well, because he's represented for the king his entire life. So he goes with the other brother who is of like maiden blood, like one of the queen babies, like the second son, the real second son, the one who didn't die, who fucked who fucked the sister, right? He wasn't one of them. He wasn't either one of them brothers. He was another one who was supposed to be king. So naturally, in a natural order, as it makes sense, General Moab went with that guy, because he's like, I know who your mother is, and I know who Solomon's mother is, and I know what I did, and I know how fucked up shit has been, and it wasn't right in his mind, because the thing that General Joab in that situation didn't do was he didn't lean to his own. He leaned on his own understanding, but what the terrible part is his own understanding had his own understanding is what had preserved the kingdom all of that time. And let me say this one other thing. The name Joab, Joab, General Joab, his name literally means God is my father. So, you know, he did things, but God was so deeply entrenched into him that it was in his name. And back then, your name, it was like, it birthed you. Like your name was you. Like you were a part of your name. Like you did a job, but your name is almost like everything, your crown of honor. So General Joab, after King David fucked this man's wife, got her pregnant, ended up getting the man killed, set off a whole chain of events. And then, General Joab, because all this shit he set off, General Joab took care of all this shit. So he ended up having to get more heinous and more crazy and more crazy and more crazy. So at the very end, once King David about to die, he tell Solomon that he's gonna be king. But of course General Joab ain't for that shit. He want the real son from the real blood to be king. And so King David tell him everything that Joab has did and sentence him to death. King David, the man he loved. General Joab loved his whole life. And because General Joab took actions on behalf of King David that he knew King David wouldn't do, but he knew was important to preserve the kingdom, he felt like he was taking one of his last greatest actions, which was to help his real blood, his real son, his second son, to become king. Not this other man, this whole baby, this sin baby. But again, God works in a mysterious way. But in Joab's heart and in his mind, he believed he was doing the right thing. And I can understand his perspective from a soldier perspective, the love of a soldier. So anyway, King David told everything he did. He was so afraid of him. He was on his deathbed. Nothing ever happened to him. Joab was awesome. And on his deathbed, he told him what he did. Solomon sent his man, and Joab ran to the church. General Joab ran to the church, and his men, Solomon's men, a man went in after him and killed him in the church. Now check this out. The name Joab means God is my father, right? General Joab never lost a battle. He was a rider. So why did he run in the church? You think because he was scared to die? Dog, he a rider. That come with the jump. This come with it. That's why he killed the other dude. And he tried to show the king, after you sent me to kill this man, you set up all this kind of shit. You don't even understand what you did. The reason why you don't understand is because I do this shit. Because I love you. And I love God. So no. General Joab wasn't scared. He probably like, bitch, we can shoot it out, we can stab it out, punch and kick it any day of the week. I'm with it. The reason why General Joab ran into church is because King David, I love you. How could you do this to me? And he ran to God. He ran to God. So it's so much in this story that shows when Pandora's box is open, how things just transpire. And it's such an amazing story. I still need to read more, but I see, like, once that man got killed, I hurt for him because he was a good person. And I was upset. I wasn't upset with God. I'm just upset with the story. Like, gosh, this isn't right. And I know God works good, but I'm like, God, golly, this was a good soldier, a good man. He loved his wife. He loved his country. That's why he didn't go home to be and beat her. Get him a little nookie in the very beginning. He loved his country. That's why he went back to the front line. And then the man who you say is number one, who you got direct connection to, you talk to. This man, this soldier, he probably don't talk. He talked to you, but he got more conviction than the man you gave everything to. All of it started from that sin. And from that, King David lost 2 sons. His daughter was defiled. Fucking, he created a census. King David created a fucking census. Hey, he told General Joab, go count all the people in the colony. And General Joab again gave him, after General Joab did that first thing for King David, he started caring more and more and giving insight. Because it wasn't just a job, it's life. He understood it, and he was just trying to help. He was going to always do what he had to do to preserve the king. But with the census, he told him, don't do the census. You're trying to count God. Don't do that. King David still went and did the census. 70,000 people died. Joab, before he even did it, told him, no. Why are you fucking with God? God good. And God told him not to do it, he did it. But anyway, in the end, Solomon King killed Joab. And you just really got to feel for all of them, because King David created it all, and that woman. The woman was put there as temptation. King David couldn't take it. He was a glutton by this time. It doesn't say in the story, but it was clear he was a glutton by this time. You got 300 women. How many days in a year is it? 365 days? You got 301 women. You got a queen and 300 concubines. You a glutton. And the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So if you were willing to do this and take this man's wife, a woman that's not yours, and fuck her, I would give you anything. That's why God really got mad. I will give you anything. I've given you everything. And you know that. All you have to do is ask me. But because of that, all these different people getting messed up. His second son, who killed his brother because he raped his sister. I mean, it's messed up, but when you think about how he did it, and you got to think about that time, you're like, oh, but they brothers and sisters. It's a different time. But it's how the brother just loved his sister, got her relaxed, took his time, had patience, and waited 2 years, and then set that boy up and killed him. Then he went into hiding. Then the general who did the original killing, my general, man, you gotta love this boy, General Joab. I'm just saying, like, it's not what he did, but like, if you see the General Joab in a lot of different people. I'm gonna tell you what in particular. Baby from Cash Money. All throughout the rise and the reign of Cash Money Records and CMG and CMB and all, not CMG, Young Money and all that, you do an interview, a lot of times Baby be like, shit, I gotta be willing to die and kill behind this shit. You be like, huh? The new #1 single worldwide, we got Baby on interview. What you gotta say about this, Baby? Well, you gotta be willing to die and kill behind this shit. And everybody be like, huh? Is he just talking some, we think it's funny, he's just talking some gangster shit. Man, that boy talking about some General Joab shit like you don't even know. You gotta be willing to die and kill. What do you think about this #1 record? You gotta die and kill behind this shit. Like, damn. So, but there's a lot of qualities in General Joab. And there's a lot of complexities. When you read into the word, it's all kind of people in there. And when you open your spirit and have discernment, I have a friend, a dear friend, a good friend. He once told me that, man, God had all kind of spirits, all kind of angels. It's not just one cookie cutter type person. It's all kind of people that serve different purposes. but it's all a part of, you know, God's great plan and His glory, and it's just, it goes like that. How do you have a general named Joab, who name literally means Joab? Google it. The name means God is my father. It's a part of His mystery. How do you have a general whose name means God is my father? A man, not a soldier, but a man who oversees all of the soldiers and is a bad motherfucker himself. Is the number one done doubt a bad motherfucker, no doubter, and his name means God is my father. And he the one. See, this is something else. Let me continue. I ain't gonna keep y'all forever. He the one who had to take on a lot of the burden from the situation. He was cursed too. King David was cursed because of what he did by killing that man and impregnating his wife. And the general who set that innocent man up, General Joab, he was cursed too. And he would have to continue from that day forward to do all kind of heinous things to keep order and power, because it set off a domino effect. Both of them, both of these men. And it all started from King David's action. And his loyal follower, his number one rider, he might not have known about him fucking the bitch. Or maybe he did. You know? I don't know if General Joab knew about it. Maybe he did. But it didn't even matter with Joab. He just wanted to keep, you know, once he heard the plan, he carried it out. And that was his first mission on behalf of the king. But after that, he understood. So he took it from the castle level and took it to a street level. But because of that, it opened up a whole bunch of things. And he is the one that handled a lot of those situations, a lot of that craziness. So, moral to the story. Man, don't mess over people. Don't mess over good people. If it's not in you, don't mess over good people. And when I mean good people, they ain't even got to be a whole bunch of good people. I mean, what I mean by not a whole bunch of good people, they ain't got to be 100% good person all the way yet. They just have to honestly in their heart be becoming that good person. Because what it goes to show, they know they have to be a good person, don't get me wrong. But like that soldier was insignificant. He was just a man. You wouldn't even know off the chain man, right? Like, he was just a regular soldier with a fine ass devious wife. But it was all a part of God's plan because she eventually had Solomon. I'm not knocking anything, but I'm explaining with discernment what this thing is. Don't mess with people, because even somebody that might seem small and insignificant, if you get God in your mix, he gonna fuck over you and everything around you. And he might just leave you to let you eyewitness everything, all this destruction, just so that you know you created this inside of you. So every day as you see this, you know that you had something to do with this. You know, and it's crazy. It don't make sense. But it was a terrible sin that it shows just even the faith of a mustard seed or some. It's not even just a small amount of big faith, but also even small people, which you consider to be insignificant people, God love. You know, so watch how you treat people. You never know who they are. And then number two, if somebody offends you or hurt you, disrespect you, betray you, pray for them. It's important. And forgive them. Work on forgiveness. Pray for them. Because it not only impacts them, it could possibly impact everybody around them. They can set off a domino effect. They can set off a domino effect of generational curses that's spawn out like the ocean. Like it just pours out in all kind of different directions. It impacts everything and everyone around them in all kind of crazy ways. Just like no sooner than King Solomon did that, he impacted General Joab, two of his sons, his daughter, another man who wanted to be a general ended up getting killed, and just 70,000 people by counting the sense, just all kind of things just start, terrible things happen after he fucked this man's wife and killed him. So, pray for those that offend you, because God loves you and you know God for real. And see, that's what's cool about God. God got time. God is omnipotent, but everybody don't believe in God. So he got time. He like, man, if everybody believed in me, then I have to be everywhere all the time. And he omnipotent. But if he had to represent for everybody all the time, everybody be, he'd be like, man, I got a lot of work. He'd be like, man, I got a lot of work. Right? But everybody don't believe. They'll talk about it. They Sunday Christians. They just like going to the club, put nice clothes on, play Christians. A lot of them. I ain't knocking nobody. But let me just get to the point. If you're a person that really believe, man, pray for people that mess over you because they don't understand. That's the part. That's why you got to pray for them. Because they don't know. King David didn't know. King David thought it was over. After he lost that first baby, he cried for 7 days and fasted. And after he lost the baby, he came back out the room. His servant's like, oh, you okay? And he like, oh, yeah, I'm all good. Nah, shit, it's over. No, it wasn't over. It was just beginning. And he set off a whole bunch of shit. Throughout, all the way to King Solomon. He set off a whole bunch of shit from that one action. So pray for those, because it's not only about how it can impact them, but all the people around them. And that's not a great thing. When you see people, your granddaddy been to prison, their daddy been to prison, they've been to prison. That's a fucking generational curse. Somebody done cursed that family. Somebody done cursed them people. That's a curse. And the only way you can break a curse is through acknowledgement. And then learning how to turn from your evil ways. And be like, well, I ain't got no evil ways. No, you might not have no ways that you know of that are evil. Or maybe you do. But you just got to turn away from it. It ain't just for you. It's to break the curse so it don't impact others around you. That's the thing they gonna tell you about. You think it only impacts you. It's all kind of motherfuckers around you that get the blowback from the curse on you. So you got to be active. You got to be vigilant about breaking generational curses, especially if you're born into one. It ain't good enough just to say, man, my daddy a fool. My mama a hoe. I don't give a fuck. Where you think you don't give a fuck from? Where did you get that mentality from? Your mama don't give a fuck. Your grandmama don't give a fuck. These are generational curses. And it ain't about being weak. Because if God get on the motherfucker, that's it. For them and all around them, people think they fucking stupid. Oh, well, God just gonna get me. No. God don't play none of that on everything around you. In all kind of crazy ways. Look at King David. So, don't mess with people. And pray for those who try to do things to you. Move around, because God is going to take good care of you. He'll never put more on you than what you can handle. God will never give you more than what you can handle. And it's glory to glory. And you're not going for victory. You live in victory. So, as a part of victory is a part of growth. So you will experience things. But for those people that might try those things against you, you got to pray for them. Because it's vicious. And we see it every day all around us. And that's gangster. Everywhere you look. Oh, his daddy been to jail. Oh, he been to jail. My granddaddy was still all these. No, these are curses. It's not important who put it on them. On your family. In your lineage. It might not even be your granddad. My daddy, he just been hustling. My granddaddy, it could have been his great, you could have been your great grandmama had 6 sons. You don't even know which one of them did what. That could have triggered a generational curse. Not just on them, but all the way around them. Man, God does not play behind those he loves, that worship him and know him and love him unconditionally. And that's gangster. I'm not going to lie to you. Because if I do, God bless you.